series with Jarvis. Going to be going over PTCs, potential trend continuation. These are structural intelligence that's in Jarvis that will be able to get a vibe on or a feel on structure build out and figuring out if it's going to continue or is there some kind of exhaustion in the structure where reversal will happen. So we're going to be going through MNQ. Um, Big shout out to NASDAQ hitting all-time highs today, which was crazy. Today was very, very crazy. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna hit the play button here, and a couple things. First, I want to pause it here. As you can see on the right HUD here, there is no key. Unfortunately, this is a brand new key. So when there is a brand new key, Jarvis HUD will go cold. How you'll know? All these fears will be grayed out. So there's no statistical data. So if there's no statistical data, it won't even print any A1s for like acceptance, commitments. It will not print any labels at all. Um, but it will still, you'll still be able to see the confirmation grades. Okay. And you are going to be able to see PTCs. So let's go ahead and play this through. So structure is still building out. Boom, there's a PTC there. Let's pause it for a second. This is a PTC-A. So what that means is it's an actual grade. It's a grade, okay? Jarvis is saying that this is a very strong structural indicator of a continuation. Um, the asterisk means that this particular candle pointing here is part of a fair value gap, okay? And also this little triangle direction below is letting you know that there is a fair value gap somewhere down here that hasn't been, fulfilled and cleaned up yet. There's still an imbalance. There is a, uh, I would say like a magic number on what Jarvis would consider a fair value gap mitigated, and it has to be at least 65% um, to be considered, I guess, somewhat mitigated. Because normally when the market is trying to clean up an imbalance, sometimes they may tap in a bit, they may get down to the 50%, but we're going a little bit more, right? We want to see some more effort from the market. So that's why you'll see this triangle. It will disappear real time as long as there's no other PTC label. So as you can see here, there are now two PTC labels. So this label is now frozen in time, okay? Because now this is the most current PTC label. So if the most current PTC label gets mitigated, these values will disappear, okay? This is for fair value gaps, imbalances. So let's keep playing through. Now, one thing about PTCs, when they do print, they will print at a ray line across, which is what we consider a rolling resistance and support. Okay, um, which is kind of cool. It's dynamic. It's real time. Once this candle closes and that label is printed, it will create that ray, and that ray will remain as long as there's no new PTC created. If a new PTC is created, this ray will disappear. Okay. The reason being is because there's already too much going on the chart. So you basically want to try to keep up with the most real time, um, build of the structure, right? So it's not going to try to keep other ray lines that it had already printed still in the structure because it'll just get just be too many lines, too much confusion. So it's always going to be the most current, right? So as you can see, this PTC-C is the most current. Now, you have PTC-A, PTC-B, PTC-C. PTC-A is a grade A, candle. Um, so this is a pretty strong, significant candle. B means it's in between, right? It's kind of like saying, you know, the momentum is still there, right? And as you can see, when this B was printed with this line, there was definitely a ray line here. As you can see, the structure is building on top of that ray line, so that means it's still continuing upwards in an upwards direction. What's also interesting is that this PTCB, as you can see, this little black candle here, this is your take profit candle that would have come from this confirmation. Okay, so confirmation, this is for this confirmation here. Now, obviously, because there is no key information, you're not going to see any details of entry here, but it still continues to print these particular indicators, even though the HUD is cold. Okay. Now, when we get to PTCC, this one's an interesting one because now when you start seeing C's, it means that Jarvis is noticing that the structure is starting to lose a little bit of steam. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to reverse. It's just saying, hey, I'm seeing a potential continuation coming to an end and a reversal is going to come. So that's what this C is for, and that's what that grade is for, right? It's basically saying, well, this doesn't seem like it's going to continue. Let's continue to play through. So as you can see, the market ignored this PTCC and it came down a little bit, traded a little bit to the side, and then it moved to the upside, right above this ray line for this PTCC. This ray line is considered resistance. The ray lines on the A and B would be considered support. C is resistance. As you can see, it went right above the resistance and is still building out. So this continuation is still continuing. Okay. So let's continue to play through. All right, another PTCC printed. Now, this one's interesting. I'm going to pause it here. This PTCC had a fair value gap, but as you can see, it's now just a C because why? 65% of that fair value gap was mitigated. And as you can see, you can tell, right? It came up like this, market dipped down, then it went back up. So a lot of that imbalance was removed. Now keep this in mind. Again, the mitigation for Jarvis for these imbalances for PTCs is only 65%. It's not 100%, 65%. Okay, 65% Jarvis size means it's a decent mitigation. There's not a guarantee that's 100% mitigated. It's just a decent mitigation. And as you can see, that is gone. Here you see we have a PTCC is new. As you can see, it's an asterisk, which means that this particular candle here was part of a fair value gap, and there's a fair value gap below as well that needs to get mitigated. And here's your PTC line. The ray line is your rolling support and resistance. As we said before, right? When it comes to PTCCs, this is supposed to be resistance. And as you can see, the market blew right through that and still building up. Okay, so continue to play. And there you go, another PTCC, another PTCC. But here's what happens now. The structure of the market building out this structure, it can still be building it. Here it hit its all-time high. As you can tell, it's like 28,000. It's at its all-time high. So you know what happens when things get to the all-time high. There needs to be a retracement somewhere, right? So this had a resistance line it broke through. This one had a resistance line as well and it broke through. But look what's happening with this resistance. So I'm going to slow this down to 1 so we can really see what's happening here. In Jarvis, we deal with confirmation, acceptance, and commitment. When it comes to PTCCs, you want to, or PTCs rather, you want to be looking for confirmation and acceptance before you make a move. Now, there was a little yellow dot here, which was considered a weak confirmation for this PTCC. There hasn't been any strong confirmations at all in there. There's no green circles. Actually, my bad. There is one green circle here. This green circle was for this PTC B, which meant that this was a strong confirmation candle to the upside. But remember, it's not just getting in on the confirmation. You need to get acceptance. And acceptance is 4 candles max. A1, A2, A3, A4. A1 and A2 is your acceptance candles. A3 and A4 are your audit candles. Those candles audit the A1 and A2 candles before you can get in. Now, when it comes to reversals, you want to try to at least get at least 3 candles in. If you can get 4 candles, it'd be even better. For continuations with A and Bs, get at least 2. If you can get 3, that's cool, but at least 2. Confirm 2 acceptance candles moving in the same direction. Then you can try to work on trying to figure out your entry. You don't have to wait for Jarvis to print you a strong confirmation. As a trader, Jarvis is already giving you some guidelines, some guardrails in the structure, right? Letting you know, hey, this is a resistance line, this is a support line, and you just watch how the market plays, and you'll see how the market really plays around these rolling resistance and support. So what do we see here first? There's a PTCC here that got printed. It was a doji. That doji created a ray line. Okay. Now the market traded above it a little bit. Another little candle here. Another bullish candle here. Slight little straddle here for this um, bearish candle. Then this was the first real close underneath this PTCC resistance line, ray line. So what do? This is your confirmation right here. So now you're waiting for A1, A2, A3, at least minimum. It may be A4 if you really want to be safe. But let's just say we're going to go to 3. So what happens? This is your confirmation. A1, this is a weak candle. Weak is weak. It's not rejected, it's weak. What that means is that when you're looking for reversal in a bullish trend, you need the candles to start going down. This candle came down strong confirmation under this resistance. The next candle here closed inside of this candle. So this is considered what we consider a weak candle, a straddled candle, right? It's indecision type of candle. The next candle, A2, was also a weak candle because look what it did. It closed in the center of this candle. Okay, so this is your A1, A2. So A1, A2 currently is weak. So you would not enter on this confirmation here. You would still wait. Let's move on to the next candle. Boom. This is your A3. And even Jarvis noticed something here. It said, oop, there's a weak confirmation here. Okay. Now, Jarvis sometimes can be a bit slow because Jarvis tries to be as careful as possible. So sometimes you can actually front run Jarvis intelligence by you watching the candles yourself. So confirmation, strong confirmation here because this confirmation closed underneath this resistance line. A1 was weak, A2 was weak. There's your A3 candle. A3 candle closed strong. Why? It reclaimed all of these candles here. The strong, the A1, the A2 close here. Now, what would you do? You go with a short. Now, when you're shorting, depends on where you want to go. Let's just say we go with the close. Okay? Bring this down to this particular swing point. And again, when you're dealing with the market, look, 1.5R is what I do. You know, I don't go too crazy. If you two things you can do, you can bring this down to the EMA 50, or if you really want to be, you know, on the wild side here, you can come down to the 200 if you like. All right. let's see what's going to happen with this. I can actually speed it up. Okay, now here's what's happening. This is a new time frame for NQ, MNQ rather. Let's pause it here. Check this out. Look what Jarvis said was the strong confirmation. Take a look at this. This was it considered a strong confirmation. But look at this candle. This is an engulfing bullish candle. This negates this, right? So you wouldn't get on this at all. But you have entered here. So technically you front run Jarvis. Okay? But let's continue to play. Boom. RB. This is your PTR. This is your PTC. This is your PTR. In the next video, we'll talk about PTR. So I'm going to stop it here for now. But as you can see, this was a nice my RRs to key points. Bringing it into the thin air is kind of crazy. So try to find points in here. That's one thing about Jarvis, right? Jarvis already has these structural references that you can use to bring your RRs and your stop loss to. So from this point, you can see that if you were going to bring it to the 50 EMA 50, you would have been about 1.6, 1.5ish, 1.6 R. If you were going to bring it to the 200, which I don't believe it touched, um, you would have been, at 4R from here. But the beauty about this is not really about your R's. It's really about your stop loss. And you see, it never came back up here. Why? While this was going and going and going and going, the strong confirmation happened here. Okay? And it was accepted here. This was your acceptance. So that's all this means. Okay? There's going to be more videos on this. But this is the PTC. One of the structural features, intelligence features in Jarvis. Um, and then, in the next video, we'll talk about, the PTRs. That's also really, really cool. So stay tuned and continue to watch. And if you want to get access to Jarvis, check the pinned comment. The WAP is there, WHOP. That's where the software resides. We are doing a 48-hour test flight with Jarvis. So you could take it for a spin in the market. You can use it on any marketplace you want. Crypto, um, Forex, futures, stocks, doesn't matter. Structure is structure, and that's what Jarvis does. It synthesizes structure. So the 48 hour is definitely there for a limited time. Check it out if you're interested. More to come.